The morning sunlight entered through the window of a small house at the end of a quiet street. Inside, a man named Rohan sat near his daughter's wheelchair. His eyes showed both love and worry. His daughter Mira was only 10 years old, but her life had changed after an accident that left her unable to walk. Before the accident, Mira had been full of energy. She used to run around the garden, laugh loudly, and paint colorful pictures of animals. Now she spent most of her time near the window, watching other children play. Rohan tried everything to make her smile again. He bought her toys, books, and even a small art set, but nothing brought back her old joy. Every evening, Rohan would sit beside Mira and tell her stories. Sometimes she smiled, but her eyes looked distant, like she was lost in her own thoughts. Rohan could feel her loneliness. It broke his heart to see his cheerful little girl become so quiet. One day, Rohan went to the park near their home. He sat on a bench watching a boy play fetch with his dog. The dog ran fast, caught the ball, and jumped happily into the boy's arms. The boy laughed, and the dog wagged its tail with excitement. For a moment, Rohan imagined Mira with such happiness. An idea came to his mind. Maybe a pet could help her feel better. Maybe an animal's love could reach her heart in a way that words could not. That evening, he asked Mira softly, "Do you like dogs, Mira?" Her eyes brightened a little. "Yes, Papa, I like dogs." "They look happy all the time." Rohan smiled for the first time that day. He said nothing more, but inside he had made a decision. He would adopt a puppy for her. Maybe that little creature could bring light into her world again. The next morning, Rohan went to an animal shelter a few miles away. The shelter was full of sounds: dogs barking, cats meowing, birds chirping. The caretaker, an elderly man named Ravi, welcomed him kindly. Rohan explained about Mira, about her accident, and how she had lost her smile. Ravi listened carefully and said, "Sir, animals have a special way of healing hearts. Maybe one of our dogs can help her." They walked through the shelter together. There were dogs of many kinds, small, big, playful, and quiet. But then, Rohan noticed 3 little puppies sitting in a corner. They were cuddled together, looking both shy and curious. One had golden fur, one was white with brown spots, and the third was completely black with big round eyes. Rohan went near them and bent down. The golden puppy wagged its tail and tried to lick his shoe. The white one tilted its head, and the black one just stared quietly. Rohan laughed softly. Something about these 3 felt special. He asked Ravi, "Why are these 3 together?" Ravi smiled and said, "They were found abandoned on the roadside. They have stayed together since then. They don't like being apart." Rohan looked at the puppies again. They reminded him of Mira's lonely days. They had been through something hard too, yet they stayed together and found comfort in each other. Without thinking further, Rohan said, "I want to take all 3. Ravi was surprised. "All 3? Are you sure?" Rohan nodded. "Yes, my daughter needs more than one reason to smile." Later that day, Rohan returned home carrying a small box filled with soft blankets and 3 tiny puppies. When Mira saw the box, her eyes widened. "What is that, Papa?" "Something special for you," he said with a gentle smile. He placed the box on her lap carefully. The golden puppy lifted its head first, then the white one, then the black one. Mira gasped with surprise and joy. Her small hands trembled as she touched them. The golden one licked her fingers, and Mira giggled for the first time in months. "These are for me?" she asked, almost in disbelief. "Yes, my dear," Rohan replied. "They are your new friends. You can name them." Mira looked at each puppy closely. "This one will be Sunny," she said, pointing to the golden one. "This one is Cookie," she said to the white one with brown spots. Then she looked at the black puppy, who was quietly watching her. "And you will be Shadow," Rohan smiled. Beautiful names. For the rest of the day, Mira played with her new friends. She could not run or walk, but she could sit on her chair and hold them, pet them, and laugh as they tried to climb into her lap. The house, which had been silent for so long, was now filled with the sound of tiny paws, small barks, and Mira's laughter. Rohan stood near the door, watching her with tears in his eyes. He had not seen her this happy since before the accident. The 3 puppies ran around her, fighting gently for her attention. It was as if they knew she needed love. Days passed, and the bond between Mira and the puppies grew stronger. Every morning they would run to her room, wagging their tails eagerly. Mira would feed them, talk to them, and even tell them stories. Each puppy had its own personality. Sunny was playful and full of energy. Cookie was sweet and loved cuddles, and Shadow was calm but always stayed close to Mira. Rohan noticed something magical happening. Mira had started to smile more often. She began painting again, this time making pictures of her puppies. She laughed when they made a mess and clapped her hands when they learned simple tricks. The house that once felt heavy with sadness now felt alive again. Even the neighbors noticed the change. They often saw Rohan taking the puppies for walks while Mira watched from the porch waving happily. One day, Rohan came home early from work. He found Mira trying to move her wheelchair closer to the window. The puppies were around her as if encouraging her. She looked at him and said, "Papa, I want to go outside. I want to feel the garden again." Rohan's eyes softened. It had been months since she had asked to go outside. He lifted her gently and placed her chair near the garden. The puppies followed closely, running in circles. Mira stretched her hands toward the sun, feeling the warmth. In that moment, Rohan realized something. The puppies were not just pets. They were small healers sent into their lives. They had brought back Mira's courage, laughter, and hope. As he stood there watching his daughter smile, surrounded by 3 little lives full of love, Rohan felt something he had not felt in a long time: peace. But what neither of them knew was that this was only the beginning. Something incredible was still waiting to happen, something that would stun everyone who saw it. Every morning in Rohan's house now started with cheerful barking and gentle laughter. Mira's life had completely changed since Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow entered her world. The 3 puppies filled every corner of the house with love and warmth. For the first time in many months, Rohan could see true happiness in his daughter's eyes. When Mira woke up, the puppies were always waiting near her bed. Sunny jumped around with his tail wagging fast. Cookie brought her little toy ball as a gift, and Shadow sat quietly beside Mira's wheelchair as if guarding her. Mira's first smile every day came because of them. Rohan often stood by the door watching the scene. He still remembered the days when Mira sat silently by the window. How she giggled when Sunny tried to bite her blanket or when Cookie rolled on her lap. Shadow would rest his head on her knee and Mira would pat him softly. It felt like a dream come true. One morning, Rohan decided to surprise Mira again. He had built a small ramp from her room to the garden so she could go outside easily. When Mira saw the ramp, she gasped with joy. "Papa, you made this for me?" she asked. "Yes, my dear. Now you and your friends can enjoy the garden together," Rohan said proudly. Mira rolled her wheelchair slowly down the ramp. The fresh air touched her face and she closed her eyes for a moment. The puppies ran ahead, chasing butterflies and each other. For a moment, the garden looked like a world full of light. Mira laughed as Sunny tried to catch a butterfly and ended up tumbling over a flower pot. Rohan sat nearby watching her. He could see how her hands moved more confidently on the wheelchair now. He noticed that she was becoming stronger both in body and mind. The puppies had become her reason to move, to try, and to hope again. Later that day, Mira painted a picture of her garden with the puppies. It was full of bright colors: yellow for Sunny, brown and white for Cookie, and black for Shadow. When she showed it to Rohan, he felt a lump in his throat. "It's beautiful, Mira," he said softly. "You should hang it in your room." Days passed like this, full of small moments that felt precious. Rohan's neighbors often came by to see Mira. They brought treats for the puppies and talked with her. Everyone was happy to see the little girl smiling again. But one evening, something surprising happened. While Rohan was in the kitchen, he heard Mira calling out loudly, "Papa, come here." He rushed to her room, worried. But when he entered, he froze in surprise. Mira was sitting straight, holding her hands out, and Sunny had just jumped gently into her lap. She looked at Rohan with wide eyes and said, "Papa, I moved a little by myself." Rohan couldn't believe what he saw. "You did, Mira?" he asked in disbelief. "Yes," she said, breathing fast from excitement. "I felt my leg move just a little when I reached for Sunny." Rohan's eyes filled with tears. He had prayed for this day for so long. Maybe it was a small step, but it was a miracle to him. He knelt beside her and kissed her hand. "That's amazing, Mira. I am so proud of you." That night, Rohan couldn't sleep. He sat near Mira's bed and watched her sleep peacefully with the 3 puppies curled beside her. He thought about how life had changed so much in just a few weeks. The girl who once refused to talk now painted, laughed, and even showed signs of recovery. He whispered a small prayer of thanks. The next morning, Rohan decided to call Mira's doctor. When the doctor came and checked her, he was surprised too. "This is good progress," he said with a smile. "Her muscles are becoming active again. Keep encouraging her to move." After the doctor left, Rohan sat beside Mira. "See, even the doctor says you are getting better. You can do anything, my dear." Mira looked down at the puppies and smiled. "I think Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow are helping me. When I play with them, I forget about my legs. Maybe that's why they move sometimes," Rohan nodded. "They are your best friends now. Maybe they understand you better than anyone else." Over the next few weeks, Mira continued to improve. Every day she tried to move a little more, reach a little further, and sit without help for longer. The puppies were always by her side, cheering her in their own way. When she dropped a toy, Sunny brought it back. When she got tired, Shadow rested near her feet and Cookie licked her hand as if saying, "Don't give up." Rohan started taking videos of Mira playing with them. He didn't realize at first that these moments were becoming something special, something worth sharing. One evening, he uploaded a small video on the internet titled, "3 Puppies Bring Back My Daughter's Smile." The next day, when he opened his phone, the video had thousands of views. People from around the world were commenting, saying how touched they were by Mira's story. Some wrote messages of love and encouragement. Others said that they had cried watching it. Rohan showed the comments to Mira. Her eyes sparkled with happiness. "Papa, people really watched it?" she asked. "Yes, my dear. Everyone loves you and your puppies," Rohan said proudly. "You have made people believe in hope again." From that day, Mira's small videos became regular. Rohan filmed her painting with the puppies, feeding them or teaching them tricks. People online loved her gentle smile and her 3 loyal friends. They started calling them the healing team. But even though the world was watching, Rohan's focus remained the same, Mira's happiness. He made sure she had time to rest, study, and paint. He also taught her how to take care of the puppies properly. Mira brushed their fur, filled their water bowls, and learned how to train them gently. One rainy afternoon, something touching happened. Mira saw Sunny standing near the door looking outside at the rain. She wanted to join him but could not reach easily. Shadow noticed her struggle. Without being told, the black puppy went behind her wheelchair and pushed it gently with his nose until she reached the window. Rohan saw the scene and smiled quietly. These 3 small dogs had become more than pets. They understood Mira's heart and tried to help her in every way they could. Later that night, Mira looked at her father and said softly, "Papa, I think they were sent to us for a reason." Rohan nodded. "Yes, Mira. Sometimes love comes in small forms with wagging tails." Mira laughed at his words. But deep inside, she felt something changing. Every day she was learning that life still had beauty, even after loss. As the days passed, her strength continued to grow. She could now move her legs slightly, and she was practicing holding herself upright. Rohan began to believe that maybe someday, Mira would walk again. He did not know it yet. But something incredible was waiting ahead. Something that would not just change Mira's life, but would leave everyone who saw her story completely stunned. Life in Rohan's house had turned into a peaceful rhythm. Each day began with laughter, barking, and the sound of Mira's gentle voice calling her 3 little friends. The puppies had become like her shadows, following her everywhere. They were not just pets anymore. They were a part of her healing journey. Every morning, Mira wheeled herself to the garden with Rohan's help. Sunny ran ahead to chase the birds. Cookie rolled around on the soft grass, and Shadow stayed close beside Mira's wheelchair. Mira would talk to them as if they understood every word. She shared her dreams, her little worries, and her plans for the day. The puppies always listened quietly, and their company made her feel strong. One sunny afternoon, Rohan sat under the shade of a tree and watched Mira feed the puppies. Her movements had become more confident now. She could bend forward easily, lift the water bowl, and even play fetch using her hands. Every time the puppies brought back the ball, Mira clapped and laughed. The joy in her face gave Rohan the courage he needed every day. Later that evening, Mira asked, "Papa, do you think I will ever walk again?" Rohan looked into her hopeful eyes. He smiled softly and said, "I believe you will. Mira, you are stronger than you think." Mira held his hand and said, "If I can walk again, I want to take Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow for a walk by myself." Rohan nodded, trying to hide the emotion in his eyes. And I will be right behind you, cheering for you. The next few weeks brought small but clear progress. The doctor had suggested light exercises that Mira could do daily. Rohan helped her practice gently every morning. The puppies sat near her, watching carefully. Whenever she finished one exercise, they wagged their tails as if cheering for her. Sometimes Sunny barked loudly, making her giggle. One day, while Rohan was in the kitchen preparing lunch, he heard Mira calling excitedly. "Papa, come here quickly." He ran to the living room and froze in place. Mira was holding onto the armrest of her wheelchair and trying to stand. Shadow was beside her, steadying her balance by pressing his head gently against her leg. Rohan's heart raced as he rushed to help her, but Mira said softly, "Don't worry, Papa, I can do it." With trembling hands, she pushed herself up. For a brief moment, she stood on her feet. Her legs shook and Rohan reached out to support her, but she managed to stand straight before sitting back down. Her face glowed with pride and surprise. "Papa, did you see that?" she said breathlessly. I stood up for a few seconds. Rohan's eyes filled with tears. He nodded, unable to speak. He went down on one knee and hugged her carefully. "I saw, Mira. I am so proud of you. You are doing something wonderful." From that day, Mira's confidence grew even more. She practiced standing every morning, and the puppies watched closely. Sunny would bark as if counting seconds. Cookie would jump around, and Shadow would stand quietly by her side. They had become her small trainers and her biggest supporters. As Mira's videos online gained more views, people from many countries began to send her letters and small gifts. Some sent drawings of her and the puppies, while others wrote that her courage had inspired them to face their own struggles. Rohan read some of the messages aloud at night, and Mira listened with a smile. "Papa, people are so kind," she said one evening. "I wish I could thank them all." "You already are," Rohan replied. "Every time you smile, every time you try, you remind them that hope is real." One day, a local news reporter contacted Rohan. She had seen Mira's videos and wanted to visit their home to tell her story on television. Rohan was unsure at first, but Mira wanted to do it. "If my story can make others happy, then I want to share it," she said. When the reporter arrived, the puppies welcomed her with loud barks and wagging tails. Mira sat in her wheelchair, smiling shyly. The reporter asked gentle questions about her journey, her accident, and how life changed after the puppies came. Mira spoke with calm confidence. She told the reporter that her 3 puppies were like her teachers, showing her how to love and keep trying even when life felt hard. The story aired a few days later, and soon, their small house became famous. People started visiting to meet Mira and her puppies. They brought flowers, toys, and dog treats. Some visitors came just to thank her for reminding them to be grateful for what they had. Rohan watched all this with quiet pride. But even as attention grew, he made sure Mira stayed humble and peaceful. "Fame comes and goes," he told her gently, "but love and kindness always stay." One morning, Mira woke up early. She looked outside and saw the garden shining with dewdrops. She whispered to the puppies, "Let's do something special today." She asked Rohan to take her outside early. When they reached the garden, Mira placed her hands on the wheelchair armrest and looked at the puppies. "Are you ready to help me?" she said softly. Sunny barked once. Cookie wagged her tail fast. Shadow sat quietly, watching her carefully. Mira closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She held on to the side of the chair and pushed herself upward. For a few moments, she stood straight. Her legs trembled, but this time she did not sit down quickly. She stayed standing, smiling widely. Rohan stood behind her, his hands half raised, afraid to disturb her focus. Tears filled his eyes as he whispered, "You're doing it, Mira." She took one small step forward, her hands still holding the chair. Shadow stayed beside her leg, giving silent support. Another step followed. Mira laughed joyfully. "Papa, look, I'm walking." It was slow and her steps were shaky, but she was walking. After months of struggle, Mira was taking her first steps again. Rohan ran forward and hugged her gently as she leaned against him. The puppies barked happily around them, sensing that something special had just happened. Rohan held her tightly and said, "You did it, my dear. You really did it." That evening, he recorded a short video of Mira walking with the puppies and posted it online. The video spread everywhere within hours. Millions of people watched it and sent blessings for Mira and her family. Some called it a miracle. Others said it was the power of love and hope. The next day, Mira's school principal came to visit. She told Mira that her classmates had seen the video and were inspired by her courage. "Everyone at school wants to meet you again," the principal said kindly. Mira's eyes filled with tears. "I never thought I would go back to school again," she said. Rohan placed a hand on her shoulder. "You will, Mira. You are ready now." That night, as Mira slept peacefully with Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow curled beside her, Rohan sat near her bed. He thought about how far they had come. What began as a father's desperate attempt to bring happiness to his daughter had turned into something beyond his dreams. He whispered softly, "Thank you, my little friends. You brought back my daughter's smile." He looked at Mira's peaceful face and knew deep in his heart that the journey was not over yet. Something even more beautiful was waiting for them, something that would surprise not only them but everyone who would hear their story. After weeks of small victories, Mira's confidence grew every day. She was no longer the quiet girl who watched the world from her window. She laughed, painted, and even helped Rohan with small chores around the house. Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow were always nearby, guiding her with their gentle presence. Each day was now full of energy, hope, and love. One morning, Rohan brought a surprise. "Mira, today we are going to visit your school," he said with a warm smile. Mira looked at him with wide eyes. "School? But Papa, I haven't been there for months." "I know, my dear," Rohan replied. "But I think you are ready. Your friends and teachers have been waiting to see you. And don't worry, Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow are coming too." Mira's face lit up. The idea of seeing her friends again along with her 3 loyal puppies filled her with excitement. She had missed her classmates, missed the laughter and the chatter, and now she could be part of it again. The drive to school was filled with laughter and barking. The puppies sat carefully in the car, occasionally licking Mira's hands. She held them close, feeling a sense of comfort and courage. Rohan could see that she was braver than ever before. When they reached the school, a crowd of students and teachers gathered near the entrance. Everyone had seen her videos online and knew about her journey. The moment Mira stepped out of the car, people cheered. Her classmates ran toward her, some crying, some laughing. "Mira, you're back!" they shouted joyfully. Mira smiled, feeling warmth in her heart. She wheeled herself slowly with Rohan's help while Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow ran around playfully, making everyone laugh. Her best friend Nina hugged her tightly. "I missed you so much," Nina whispered. The principal came forward with a gentle smile. "Mira, we are so proud of you. Your courage has inspired everyone at school." Mira felt shy but happy. She looked down at the puppies and whispered, "We did it together, didn't we?" Sunny barked as if agreeing. Cookie rolled over and Shadow sat calmly beside her. That day, Mira spent hours in her classroom, showing her drawings to friends and telling stories about the puppies. They laughed when she described Sunny's funny jumps, Cookie's clumsy rolls, and Shadow's quiet but caring nature. It was a day full of smiles, and Mira felt she truly belonged again. After school, Rohan took Mira and the puppies to a nearby park. He wanted her to practice walking more in an open space. Mira held onto a small support frame while Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow ran beside her. She took slow, careful steps, and with each one, her confidence grew. People in the park stopped to watch, amazed at her progress. Some even offered encouraging words. One little boy approached her and said, "Wow, you can walk, and you have 3 puppies." "That's amazing." Mira smiled and replied softly, "They help me. They are my friends." Rohan watched silently, his heart swelling with pride. The journey from despair to joy had been long, but he could now see a clear path forward. Mira was becoming strong, independent, and happy. That evening, back at home, Mira sat painting in her room. Sunny was curled up beside her. Cookie played with a small ball, and Shadow rested near the door. Her brush moved gently across the paper, creating a picture of her school day with the puppies. She painted smiling children, the sun shining bright, and her 3 little friends bounding around joyfully. Rohan walked in quietly and whispered, "It's beautiful, Mira." She looked up and smiled. "Papa, I want to share this with everyone. Maybe they will feel happy too." Rohan nodded. "That's a wonderful idea. You have brought so much happiness already. Sharing it will make it even brighter." The next morning, Rohan uploaded her painting online along with a short story about her day. Within hours, the post gained thousands of likes and comments. People were touched by her courage, her love for her puppies, and her determination to enjoy life despite challenges. Days turned into weeks, and Mira continued her exercises. Each day she could walk a little longer, lift herself a little higher, and even balance without support for a few steps. The puppies stayed by her side, their small bodies full of energy, encouraging her every moment. One special day, Rohan received a phone call from a local charity organization. They had seen Mira's videos and were inspired by her story. They wanted to help her continue her recovery and even offered to provide a professional physical therapist to guide her. Rohan shared the news with Mira. "See, my dear? Your courage has touched many hearts. People want to help you because of your determination and love." Mira hugged him tightly. "I feel so lucky, Papa. And I feel lucky to have Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow. They never leave me alone." The therapist arrived the next day. She was gentle and kind, guiding Mira through exercises that could strengthen her legs. Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow watched carefully, sometimes barking softly as if to cheer her on. Mira's laughter filled the room whenever the puppies playfully nudged her or tried to catch a toy she held. Rohan noticed something remarkable. With each passing day, Mira's movements were more confident. She could now walk short distances without holding onto her wheelchair or frame. Her smile was brighter, her laughter louder, and her heart full of hope. One afternoon, while Mira was practicing walking in the garden, a neighbor approached. She had seen Mira's progress and wanted to meet her in person. "You are amazing, Mira," the neighbor said. "Your strength and love for life inspire us all." Mira blushed but felt proud. She held Sunny's paw in her hand and said softly, "We are doing this together. My puppies help me every day." That evening, Rohan sat with Mira on the porch. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink. Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow lay at their feet, tired from a day of play. "Papa," Mira said quietly, "I think life is beautiful again. I feel happy and I feel strong." Rohan smiled and held her hand. "Yes, Mira. Life can always be beautiful if we have love, hope, and a little courage." Mira looked at the puppies and whispered, "Thank you for being with me. I could not have done this without you." Sunny barked softly. Cookie licked her hand and Shadow rested his head near her lap. They seemed to understand every word. They had become more than friends. They were family, teachers, and tiny miracles in her life. Rohan realized something that night. Their journey was far from over, but the hardest part was behind them. Mira had learned to walk again. The puppies had given her the courage to try, and the world had witnessed a story of love and hope that could inspire anyone. But even as he watched Mira sleep peacefully, surrounded by her 3 little friends, Rohan knew that the most surprising moment of their journey was still waiting. Something unexpected, wonderful, and life-changing was about to happen, and it would leave everyone stunned. The morning sunlight filled Rohan's house as usual. Mira was awake early, her eyes shining with excitement. Today was special. After months of slow progress and small victories, Rohan had planned a surprise for her. "Papa, what is today?" Mira asked, holding Sunny close, Cookie at her side, and Shadow resting near her wheelchair. Rohan smiled. "Today, my dear, we are going to the park for your first real walk outside without your wheelchair. You have practiced so much. I think you are ready." Mira's face lit up with joy. She had been working hard every day, slowly learning to walk with the support of the puppies and her father. The idea of walking freely outside made her heart race with excitement. When they reached the park, a gentle breeze blew through the trees. Children were playing, people were walking their dogs, and the air was filled with happiness. Mira held Rohan's hand tightly while Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow ran beside her. "Okay, Mira," Rohan said softly. "You can try now. Take your first step." Mira looked down at her feet, took a deep breath, and lifted one foot. She placed it forward carefully. The next step followed. Her legs were still a little shaky, but she could do it. Sunny barked happily, Cookie jumped around, and Shadow stayed close, giving her confidence. "Papa, I am walking," Mira exclaimed, laughing as she moved forward. Rohan's eyes filled with tears of joy. "Yes, my dear. You are walking. Look at you." People in the park noticed the little girl walking, guided by her father and cheered by 3 playful puppies. Some stopped to watch, amazed by the scene. They could see the courage in her eyes, the determination in her steps, and the love that surrounded her. Mira took another step, then another. The puppies ran alongside her, making her laugh with their playful antics. Sunny chased a butterfly, Cookie rolled on the grass, and Shadow ran steadily beside her. Together they formed a circle of love and support around Mira. A group of children came closer, clapping for her. "Wow, you can walk." "That's amazing," one of them shouted. Mira smiled and waved. "Thank you. These are my friends. They help me." She pointed to the 3 puppies. Rohan followed closely, holding her hand whenever she needed support. His heart was full of pride. After months of fear, sadness, and worry, he was finally seeing his little girl enjoy life again. After walking a few more steps, Mira paused and looked around. She saw a small stage set up in the park for the weekly community program. A thought struck her. "Papa, can we go there?" Rohan nodded. "Of course, my dear. But take it slowly. We don't want you to get tired." With careful steps, Mira made her way to the stage area. People stopped and stared. Some whispered to each other, pointing at the girl who had overcome so much. Then something incredible happened. Mira looked at the crowd, then at Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow. She smiled and said, "I want to show everyone how love can help us grow." Rohan watched silently, curious about what she had planned. Mira took a small ball from her bag and threw it gently. Sunny ran to catch it, Cookie followed, and Shadow stayed close. The crowd laughed and clapped, enjoying the playful performance. Mira repeated it a few times. Each throw, each catch, and each laugh made the audience cheer louder. People began taking out their phones to record the moment. The little girl who had once been paralyzed was now walking, playing, and teaching a powerful lesson about hope, courage, and love. A teacher from Mira's school came forward. "You are an inspiration, Mira," she said softly. "You have shown us all that with determination and love, anything is possible." Mira smiled, feeling proud. She patted Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow. "We did it together," she said. By the end of the day, the story of Mira and her 3 puppies had spread even further. News reporters arrived to cover the event. They interviewed Rohan and Mira, asking about her journey and how she had managed to walk again. Rohan spoke first, his voice filled with emotion. "My daughter's courage, combined with the love of her 3 little friends, brought her back to life. These puppies are not just pets. They are teachers of hope, companions of courage, and sources of endless love." Mira looked at the camera and smiled shyly. "They made me strong. They made me happy. I want everyone to know that even if life feels hard, love can help us find our way." The video and photos from the park spread across social media, inspiring people worldwide. Messages poured in, sharing stories of hope, courage, and the impact of love. Many said they cried while watching Mira walk, laugh, and play with her puppies. Others shared that her story had motivated them to be brave in their own lives. That night back at home, Mira sat with the puppies on her lap. She looked at Rohan and whispered, "Papa, I feel like I can do anything now." Rohan hugged her gently. "Yes, my dear. You can do anything. You have the heart, the courage, and the love to face anything." Mira smiled and kissed each of her puppies. "Thank you, my friends. You helped me walk, laugh, and believe in life again." Sunny barked happily. Cookie licked her hand, and Shadow rested his head on her lap. They had truly become her guardians, her cheerleaders, and her closest friends. Over the next few weeks, Mira continued to practice walking. Each day she grew stronger, more confident, and more independent. She even started helping Rohan with small tasks around the house, using her new strength and courage. Rohan realized that the journey had changed all of them. Mira had grown braver. The puppies had shown what unconditional love could do, and he had learned that hope could be found in the smallest of companions. One sunny afternoon, Rohan watched Mira walk across the garden with the puppies playing beside her. He thought about the past months, the sadness, the struggle, the slow progress, and finally the joy of seeing his daughter walk again. His heart was full of gratitude. He whispered softly, "Thank you, little friends. You gave my daughter the greatest gift, her smile and her strength." Mira looked at him, holding the 3 puppies close. "Papa, I will never forget this. I will always be brave because of your love and theirs." The story of Mira, Rohan, and the 3 puppies became known everywhere. People from different towns and countries wrote letters, shared videos, and even visited them to see the girl who had walked again with the help of love and friendship. But for Rohan, the greatest reward was simple. It was Mira's laughter, her courage, her joy, and the bond she shared with Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow. They had turned a house filled with sadness into a home full of love, hope, and endless happiness. One evening, as the sun set in golden colors, Mira sat in the garden, holding the 3 puppies. She looked at Rohan and said softly, "Papa, life is beautiful again. I feel happy, I feel strong, and I feel loved. I will never forget this moment." Rohan hugged her tightly, feeling a mixture of pride, relief, and joy. "Neither will I, my dear. Neither will I." The 3 little puppies rested around them, tired from a day full of play, love, and joy. In that quiet moment, surrounded by love, the father, daughter, and their 3 little companions realized something magical. Sometimes the smallest creatures could create the biggest miracles. From that day forward, Mira continued to walk, play, and inspire everyone who met her. Her story became a symbol of hope, courage, and the power of love. Sunny, Cookie, and Shadow remained by her side, their tiny hearts carrying the magic that had changed a little girl's life forever. And so, a father's love, a daughter's courage, and 3 little puppies showed the world that even in the darkest times, hope could shine, smiles could return, and hearts could heal in the most unexpected and beautiful ways. The end.